and today I'm gonna start teaching you how to draw. So if you wanna jump right into it, just go to this somewhere on the screen or something. I don't know how to do it. So as nobody knows, I am H artist. That kind of H you can find on N, but you cannot find me on N. So the point is, I've been drawing for a long ass time. And I've seen many tutorials and whatever, like how to draw this cool character, like how to draw this cool poses, or like this like 1,755,025,078 ways to draw anime eyes or something. Very few people talking about basics, like absolute bottom of a barrel stuff. You know how some teachers tell you not to draw anime? That's usually because they're stupid idiots and do not think that anime is an art. But some of them telling you this because anime is stylized, and if you do not know the basics, like how to draw human without any stylization, that means you do not know what are you stylizing. So that's why I'm gonna start from the very bottom. So if I'm wrong about something, please tell me in the comments. And with all this said, now we can jump to the actual teaching part. So what is perspective? Perspective is a distortion. When we're looking at something, we are not only like seeing what in front of us, we're also seeing stuff like in peripheral vision. And that stuff usually distorted. And this is a perspective, like when we're looking at this box, for example, like this is box, right? But this is what the box actually looks to us. So our eyes actually see this box in the perspective, and it's suddenly not that boxy. We understand it's a box, but if we look at the actual like shapes, we will see like this is not a box, this is not a box, and this is not a box. It's not a box, but together we still understand that this is a box. But it's very distorted at the same like table. Look at the table. It's straight, and we understand it's straight, but what we see is actually like this weird, whatever the fuck that is, shape. I forgot the English word for that. Point is, it's not square. So perspective, in short, it's a distortion. There is several types of perspective. There's like 1-point perspective, 2-point perspective, 3-point perspective. This is usually what used the most, but there are also some weird stuff like 4-point perspective, but 5-point perspective, 6-point perspective that I don't even actually know how to draw. It just like bullshitted something here. Maybe it's right, maybe it's wrong, I don't know. And these last three is not actually very useful. I mean, it's fun to draw in 4 or 5 perspectives sometimes, but if you just want to draw, you know, anything ever, usually first 3 perspective, 1, 2 and 3-point perspective are absolutely fine. You don't really need to learn all this. I mean, you can if you want, but that's not necessary. So let's now get to explaining how this all works. Starting with a 1-point perspective. So what is this and what the hell are you looking at? So all perspective made out of 3 things. Horizon line. It's usually a straight line, or maybe tilted if you want, but usually straight. Let me explain on a straight one. So what is horizon line? It's, you know, horizon line. There's like, I don't know, shapes on the horizon, sun rising behind from the ground. You got the point. This is water, this is sky, this is a ship, this is a weird face that's gonna eat the ship when it goes into it, and this is a horizon. This here is a horizon line. So when we have this horizon line, there is points on a horizon line. So 1-point perspective means there is only 1 point on a horizon line. Makes sense, right? So these points, it's like little suns, so that, you know, like sun doing all this like light rays. that coming from it, this point doing the same. It's practically doing lines, kind of rays coming out of it. So these rays are actually our guidelines for an object. What does that mean? That means that if you want to draw a square, you have to connect two lines here, and then connect it with a lower line somewhere there. And that's going also down, and that's going left. And you have a cube. This is cube. You cannot see the horizon line behind it because it's solid, but you might say, hey, it's like not 3D, it's like just a square in 2D, because this is one-point perspective. So in one-point perspective, all the objects following these lines, but since they're only 1 point, that means all the vertical lines are vertical. They don't straight up and down. And that's how we get in our cube. Or for another example, everybody seen this a million times is a railroad. You know, like railroad, when you look at this in 1 point perspective, it goes like this. And it's going there somewhere, and then like whoop, 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 whoop. And practically this railroad tracks is our guidelines. They line on these red lines. So the railroad goes farther and farther and farther until it vanishes. That's why these points called vanishing points, because railroads vanish at these points. It sounds so stupid. Or for example, let's say we have some electric poles on the side. As you can see, they also following these guidelines. That's how you use vanishing points with their guidelines. This is usually very flat stuff. It doesn't really look that 3D. And for it to look more 3D, we have where 2 point perspective. That's where things start to look more 3D. So 2 point perspective is also comprised of a horizon line. At this time, not 1 but 2 vanishing points. And these vanishing points, they're doing all this light rays stuff. And this light rays is, as always, our guideline for the object. So, let's say we want to draw another box. Since it's a 2 point perspective, vertical lines still absolutely vertical wherever they are, here or here or here. So we will draw one vertical line in the middle, and then we're gonna do this. So it's practically one light ray. And it goes to this point on the vertical line. So from this point we draw another light ray there. Then we say choose one here. And we're connecting these 2 points. And again, it's still vertical lines when they're vertical, because there's only 2 points. That means we draw in some another vertical lines. Suddenly we have very distorted cube. So why this cube is so distorted? And the reason is that I put these 2 vanishing points too close to each other. And so general rule is the closer the vanishing points are, the more distorted object will look. But if we take longer horizon line and we put our vanishing points farther apart, and we, let's say, have another line here. Let's connect the dots. Some more vertical lines. And suddenly, boom, it's a cube in 2 point perspective. So again, 2 point perspective is like 1 point perspective, but with 2 points. Wow! Logic! And the closer these 2 points to each other, the more distorted object gonna look. And the farther they are, the more kind of natural it's gonna look, but you absolutely can put these points way too far apart, and that's where the object gonna start look very stretchy. So be mindful of a distance between these vanishing points. So now we go into 3 point perspective, and as you can already see, there's 3 vanishing points, but one of these vanishing points is not on the horizon line. So what's going on here? 3 point perspective start just like 2 point perspective with a horizon line. And this horizon line have 2 points. But suddenly we have third point somewhere up above here. Usually it's perpendicular to your... Well, not usually, it is kind of perpendicular to your horizon line. Here. And this time, because of this point right here, vertical lines are no longer vertical. They're only vertical if they're going straight down from that one. Like that. But then other vertical lines not gonna be vertical anymore. So let's say we want to draw a cube again. So this is gonna be the bottom of our cube, and this is gonna be the top of our cube. And now we're just connecting dots like always. Like this. But now instead of vertical lines like this, we have a third point that we're gonna make our vertical lines from. Like this. And suddenly we have a cube in a perspective again. And as you can see, again, it's very distorted. Why? The same reason, just like last time. The vanishing points are too close to each other. So let's draw it more correctly, with a longer horizon line and our points farther apart. They still doing their things that they always doing, like this. And again, let's say this is the top and this is the bottom. We're just connecting the dots. Easy. Something kind of more squarish looking now. 3-point perspective is usually getting somewhat distorted, but you can also do something different. Instead of doing it like I was doing it previous 2 times, when the bottom one is here, when the bottom of our box is beneath the horizon line. And again, the bottom and the horizon line is higher than the bottom. So this time let's try to put our bottom on a horizon line. It's gonna start just as it was starting the last 2 times, with points, another point, and all the light rays these points do. But now let's say we have our bottom of the box here. That means this line suddenly becomes absolutely horizontal. Let's arbitrarily put the top of a box here, I don't know, and connect these dots. And now we're suddenly looking at our box from below. It suddenly starts looking like some kind of big building. We can draw the windows here. I don't know, some kind of entrance. And that's how you drawing stuff from below. It's 3-point perspective. Also, you can do another example. That would be the last one, I guess. There's many stuff you can do with 3-point perspective. So let's say we now suddenly have the bottom of our box higher than a horizon line. We still have 3 points. And let's say we have a bottom of a box suddenly here. It's higher than our horizon line. And again, As always, we're drawing all this light rays coming to this point. And top will be, I don't know, here. Up. So now we have the box right here. It's going somewhere like this. And suddenly we have this weird, not box stuff. It just looks like this empty. Why? Because you need to connect these dots now. And suddenly you have box in 3-point perspective where you can see the bottom of a box. Here. Now it's floating above our horizon line. The same you can do from the top, the same you can do from whatever. This is how perspective, 3-point perspective works. It's practically works just like 2-point perspective, but now with the z-axis. And for the last perspective today, I'm gonna talk about 4-point perspective. Even though it's not really that useful, it still can be useful sometimes. So, the same goes the same way. I need more space here. That'll do. So, 4-point perspective starts just as all the other perspectives with a horizon line. But this time we have not just 2, I said blue, not just 2, not 3, but we have now 4 perspective points. That's gonna make our image super distorted. Now, if we're gonna do something like, again, let's say this is the top, this is the bottom, we're connecting lines like this. But now we have 2 here. Like, what do we do with these things? It's very not simple actually. So let's say this is the corners of our box. We're connecting this just like with a 3-point perspective. But now we have this one down here, which means this one gonna go to these spots, like this. It's gonna make very weird and absolutely not squarish scene here. Why it looks so weird now? It's because we're doing it wrong. Because we're still using these straight lines. But when you have 2 points up and above, when it's 4 points, as you can see here, they curves. So now instead of this, we have this. This line suddenly curves. They're supposed to be absolutely vertical and straight, but now straight lines not exactly straight everywhere. And as you can see, the box in 4-point perspective suddenly start looking kinda more round. This is 4-point perspective. There are also like 5, 6, I don't really know how to draw them, and why would you ever want to? I think for practice, for like cool factor maybe, but is that practical? No, not really. These 5 and more, and there's like the weird kind of two-spheric, like 2 spheres perspective. I don't even know how many the points there are. It's like, it's when you see what's in front of a character and suddenly you see what's behind the character. Oh, my brain hurts. So, this is the perspective. So again, 1-point perspective, we have 1 point, 2-point perspective, we have 2 points on the horizon line. Starting from the 3 points, we have another point above or below the horizon line. With 4 points, we have points above and below. and then you can Google this too. So again, and again. These three is the bread and butter of everything. You can see them everywhere. Well, more these two. These two you will see more than this one, because this one is kind of a bit boring. It's not that interesting. So this is, but this one is also pretty common. And these two are more interesting common perspective. This is a bit uncommon perspective, but it still has some use. So it's also not gonna hurt to learn this one. And these two, and potentially more and more, and infinite like 5D, 7D perspective worlds. So I do not really know why would you ever want to draw them. They're not really useful in any way. Maybe this one. Maybe. You will find somehow, you will find some way to incorporate this somehow. But this one, I do not think you need to learn this at all. Just if you want to be like super nerd or something, you can learn this one. You will be cool. You will be able to do stuff that most people do not. But what's the use of this? What's the point? I personally do not know. Write down in the comments if you know. And yeah, before I gonna wrap this up, I gonna show you some other shapes, basic shapes in perspective. Here we have a pyramid in 1-point perspective, 2-point perspective, in 3-point perspective. And as you can see, the sphere in any perspective just gonna end up being a sphere. And before I go, I wanted to quickly talk about manga frames and, well, frames in general. So let's say this is our frame. This is like the city we need to draw. So where is the horizon line here? Is it here or is it there? Like, where is it? And the answer is no. It's completely outside of this frame. All the way here. So you, whenever you draw in any scene, the horizon line and the vanishing points not always gonna be in the frame. It can be outside of it also. And this is the end of lesson 1. Stay tuned for the lesson 2 that might never ever come out because I'm a lazy ass. So in the meantime, like, share, and subscribe, or whatever the fuck people say in the end of the video. I am out.